Well, number one is I don't think we have an energy strategy for this country.
Yeah.
And what do I mean by that? We put forth an IRA, it passes, but there is no strategy on how to get from point A to point B. How is it economically viable? Who's going to be hurt? How high are electricity prices going to be? How can you compete economically around the world if, like Germany, you're paying 40 cents a kilowatt hour for energy? And I will give you a small example. We have an EPA who's going to take 30% of power plants offline in 8 years. We have an EPA who issues a tailpipe emission rule that 66% of vehicles have to be electric. Last year, I asked a question of Administrator Regan, and I gave him a year and asked him the same question. The question was this: how many vehicles, passenger vehicles, the government considers passenger vehicles to be passenger sedans, light trucks, and motorcycles. How many of those vehicles are on the road in the US today? He didn't know the answer last year, and he didn't know the answer this year. Don't you think that's important to know? If you were going to make a rule that says 66% of vehicles have to be electric in 8 years, don't you think you ought to know how many vehicles are on the road, number one? Number two, how much electricity does it take to get a single 100-mile charge? And I'm just going to say I live over 100 miles from the airport to get back and forth to my district. He didn't know the answer last year, he didn't know the answer this year. Then how in the heck can you craft a policy? So the federal government runs the risk of doing the same thing that happened during COVID. And that is, if you're not an honest broker with the American people, if you are not transparent in your policy, how much do you expect people to pay for electricity and who gets hurt? What does that do to our businesses? So as important as climate is, as important as the environment is, it is also important that people have affordable, reliable, secure, abundant energy. The United States is not going to put up with brownouts when we know that we have energy that can go online and go online today. So how do you meet the increasing energy demand? How do you allow those energy sources to come on board? How do you put the R&D and development? If you are doing tax credits that preferentially treat one industry over another, that money doesn't go into innovation, into improvisation, into research and development. I don't believe wind and solar are going to be the energy source of the future. I'm not smart enough to know what it is, but I know some young person out there is going to develop that. And we want to put forth the environment that allows that innovation and that entrepreneurship to come forward.